You're looking for a solid process for you and your team to transfer or migrate data from Google Sheets into Airtable, then this is the perfect video for you. I'm going to show you how to do just that and how to kind of follow a step-by-step process to really make sure that all the data gets transferred over properly. This video is going to be a little bit long. I'm going to kind of transfer the data in real time. And so what I have is I have a Google Sheets. It's a two-dimensional Google Sheet with just some raw data for what would be an event company. And I'm going to start working on getting it transferred over. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, and look, it looks like we have some bad data. So this mock data set is good to work with. First thing I want to do is I want to figure out what are the tables that we want to use, because in Google Sheets, we have just one single table, but in Airtable, we're going to have more of a 3D data structure. Now, if you haven't watched it yet, I'd highly recommend you watch my video on the difference between 2D versus 3D data. And because that's what we're going to be doing today is transferring 2D data into 3D data. And so it seems like we have registration, event, event date, event city, event type, company, company industry. So I already know we have three tables there. We have registrations, events, and companies. And then contacts. So we're going to have a contacts table. Let's see. Job title, ticket type, ticket price. So we might have a tickets table. Discount code, discount amount, payment status. Good. So this is a good little exercise here. So the first thing I like to do is I like to put all of these field names into a Miro, because what we're going to do first, before we transfer any data, it's important for you and your team to be able to easily communicate on how this data needs to be transferred. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to just put all of these data points in here. Now, I might pause the video real quick while I do this. That way you don't have to watch me do this all the way through. And then we're going to map each of the data points to different tables, essentially. So I'm going to pause the video and get that done real quick. Okay, and so we have all of the data points laid out here. Clearly, it's a lot. I wanted to do a lot for this example because data migrations typically do involve a lot of data points. So we're going to have registrations. We're going to have events. I know we're going to have contacts. Now, I don't know if we want to have a separate companies table yet. Depends on if we have multiple contacts with the same company. And that goes into our relationships, right? So we have company, job title, ticket types. Registrations might go with tickets. Discount codes. And so I'm going to think for just a minute. I know we're going to have events, we're going to have companies, maybe. We may want to group tickets and, and payments, because we have payments. But let's start just connecting our data points. Event, 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 contacts. Now we could go with, there's a more nuanced way to do like a contact company relationship table, but you always want to start off as simple as you can initially. So I'm going to put job title on contacts for this particular example, just to keep the video simple. Ticket, discount code. I'm wondering if tickets and registrations need to be separate. Attended would go on registrations. And so at this point, what I typically like to do is I like to start um, moving these around to kind of make them more manageable. And so like I might move that there, and I might move this up here. That way we can have that. And it looks like a lot of the registration stuff is down here, so I might actually move all of this down a little bit. You move this down right here, just to keep it organized. And so a couple different things we can look at to see what we want to do. And I'm going to let y'all into my thought process fully. So events, event city. I'm looking to see if we have multiple companies, and we do. We have some people with the same company. And so if we have some people with the same company, we're going to want to track that because we're going to want to be able to roll up and see like how many people have attended from this company, right? Let's make sure that the contact names are different. Yeah, so you see we have multiple different people from the same company. So we are going to want a companies table. Registrations, company. There we go. Lift this up a little bit. We can actually keep that kind of separate. There we go. Now registrations, let me think if we want to do registrations on, and sometimes you have to think about this logically of how you want to do it. I'm going to kind of separate these, segment these out a little bit. I'm reading through discount code, discount amount. Net promoter score is going to be on a contact level because that's how the person is tracked. So I'm going to do that. I think all of these can go on registration, so we're going to keep it simple like that. So that's the first thing I do is I map and I show what are all of the columns and what tables do they map to, right? And so the next part is we want to be able to show the relationships between the tables. So each contact can have multiple companies or no. I don't think in this instance each contact only has one company. So we're going to draw that relationship. Each contact can have multiple companies. Each company can have multiple contacts. Technically. Technically, that's possible. So I'm going to do that. So this means it's a many-to-many relationship. This means each contact can have multiple companies. Each company can have multiple contacts. You can see over here where it says many-to-many. Now, it's not the companies attending the events, it's the contacts. And so what we're going to do here, I'm actually going to, and a lot of this is just visually so you and your team can discuss it, is the most important thing. I'm going to move this like this. That way we can kind of see, okay. Contact company relationship. Events don't relate directly to the contacts. Events have registrations and registrations have contacts. So what I'm going to do to keep this, to keep this simpler, more simple. And remember, I told you I'm going to let y'all see my thought process end to end. How you map it out is important. It may not seem important, but it is important. So we're going to do this. I'm actually going to create a duplicate, and we're going to do we're going to do all the table relationship mapping here. So contacts can have multiple companies. Companies can have multiple contacts. Contacts have registrations. A registration can only have one contact. So we need to change this to none. A registration can only have one contact. A contact can have multiple registrations. A registration can only have one event, but an event can have multiple registrations. So we're going to change this. So that is the essential data structure. Now you have to identify what is the relationship between these. What do we want to see? So like, let me think of a good way to explain this. So you have to determine what field you want to see when you're linking records in Airtable. So let's go ahead and let's just create these tables in Airtable. I'm going to start completely from scratch. There we go. So we're going to have contacts, companies, events, registrations. I should have made these their own thing. So we're going to start off with company name, companies and contacts. So I typically like to make the primary field a formula field, just in case there's different identifying information. But for the most part, company name, and contact name, right? Company name, contact name. Now, contact name does need to be a formula field because we don't have, you'll see we don't have a contact name here, right? We just have a first name and a last name. Or you could use first name, but you want to have as much identifying information as possible when linking the fields. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do first name, do single select, single text. Last name, I'm going to make this a formula and say concatenate first and last name with a space in between. So now if I put myself in here, right, you'll see my contact name, companies. We're going to do, I'll just put my company. And then we're going to create a linking table, link to another record, link to contacts, call this contacts. Allow linking to multiple records, because a company can have multiple contacts and a contact can have multiple companies. And then I can link it, right? So perfect, good example. Now we are going to have a relationship between contacts and registrations. So we have company name and contact name. I'll have contact name and then registration. Let's look at registrations. Is we have registration ID. And so I'm going to do this. Okay. And then for events, we have, oh, I guess we need to create the linking field, don't we? To contacts. Registrations. I'll get rid of these records. Contacts. Now remember, a registration can only have one contact, so we want to change that to contact and uncheck allow linking to multiple records. Contact. Now this one I forgot. Since it can, we want to change that to contacts. You want to make sure you always know your relationship types: one-to-one, many-to-many, many-to-one, one-to-many. You want to always know that. So now we're going to do events. So we'll have registration ID, and then we'll have event. Doesn't really have an event ID, so we're going to use event name. Event name. There we go. Okay. And we're going to link that to registrations. Because each event can have multiple registrations, but each registration can only have one event. So we want to make sure that we update this. Right? Okay. And so with that, we have the linking set up. The linking is all set up. We have it mapped out, which is really good. I messed this up a little bit, but that's okay. Not the end of the world. You still kind of can see which records go to what. Let's see, this one I should be able to link there. Here we go. Don't know what that is. So now we want to go through and we just want to put in all the field names. So we have event name. I always like to have the primary key up at the top where possible. So event name, event type, event date, event city. And make sure you pay attention to data types. Event city is probably a single select. Event date, going to be a date. right? Event type, I feel like we might be able to do it. So whenever I'm working with data and we have this primary Google Sheet that this business is using for its daily operations, you never want to operate or mess with the data in there if they're using it for their business operations. So I always like to create, let's see, a separate working file to kind of work with. Working, call this migration working file, right? And so like one important thing is let's look at event type. I bet we only have a couple of different types of events. And so we might want to make that a single select. And so I'm going to come here, go to data, data cleanup, remove duplicates. Yeah, conference, workshop, meetup, roundtable, retreat. So I'm going to change this to single select. Retreat, right? Um, and so there we have, I did that on the wrong table, didn't I? I did that on the wrong table. That's okay. Event type. Let's see, what were our event types? Conference, workshop, meetup, roundtable, retreat. Single line text, city, date, event, date. Perfect. Now I may pull up a side by side so it's easier to kind of do this. Company name. We already have company name. Company industry. We might be able to categorize that, right? Let's see. Go to data cleanup. Yeah, so we'll do production. Oh wait, sorry. Production, media. Here we go. I think there actually is going to be an easier way for us to do this. But this is just kind of for an example of what you would ideally want to do. Now, company size is a number, so we're going to do company size. Here we go. And we got all of that. Go to contacts. We have first name. So even though they had contact first name and last name, I just put first name and last name. I'm going to do email. Phone. Context. Job title. Let's see how you always want to look at the sample data of like, what is NPS score? This was it, but I guess it messed up. That looks like it was a number. So I'll do that. Here we go. So that's contacts. We have companies. We have events. Now we just need to do registrations. Now I'm going to do registrations a little bit differently. I'm just going to do it real quick. We have registration ID. So we'll do ticket type. Ticket price. Discount code. Discount amount. We'll do payment status. Payment method. Registration date. And attended. Now registration date, I guess I can go ahead and make that a date field. So I'm going to change that to date. Right? And so now what we want to do is we want to import all of our data. So I'm going to go through first. I'm just going to delete all of our records. So we start off fresh. And now to import data, I like to use a extension. So if you go to extensions, add an extension, they have an extension called CSV import. You want to add that. And so now we kind of have to prepare our data. And that's why we have this migration working file, is to prepare our data. Now what we're going to do is we know that, so let's take, for example, we know that contacts and companies are related, right? So I'm going to first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a copy of this. I'm going to download it. There's two different ways we can do this. I'm going to try this first way. If this doesn't work, there's a second way. We put in our mock data, which in your case will be real data. You always want to do merge with existing records. And in this instance, we'll merge on email. And then you map your field. So you do contact email, first name, last name. And you want to make sure that you map as many of these as possible. So company name, you always want to use, so remember whenever we did our thing, I wrote here that company name is like the primary key for companies. So whenever you're importing for linked records, you always want to make sure that that matches up, because companies is a linked record. So is registrations. So we want to use what for that? We want to use registration ID for registrations. Contacts phone, job title, NPS score. Contact name is a formula field, so it won't need it. So we'll go ahead and save records. Perfect. There you go. So you can see we have all of this data in here. Now, you'll see we have duplicates. Yeah, so I did that wrong. Because here's what we need to do. There's a couple different ways to do this. There's a more automated way. I'm debating on whether or not I want to show the manual way or the automated way. Um, Regardless, though, we have all of our companies now. We don't have any of our events. We have all of our registrations, right? Um, so let's go ahead and do our events. Now, for our events, it's going to be hard to match up registrations with events. Really, what we should have done is started with registrations. And why should we have started with registrations? Let me think. Let me think. So, what I've realized is we need a better unique identifier for contacts. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to change contact name to email, because that's going to be the unique identifier, right? If you don't have a unique identifier, it causes duplicates. You always have to have a unique identifier. And you can change it after the import, but for the import, you always need a unique identifier. And same thing here, is we need that to be email. And then I went ahead and removed this data. We're going to try this again. You want to start with the most expanded table, the most number of records. So like events, we only have 6 events. Contacts, we may only have 10 contacts. We may only have 5 companies, but registrations is what we have the most of, if that makes sense, right? Because some people are going to multiple events, so we have less contacts than we have registrations, because people may register twice. So on contacts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this primary key to email. And then you always want to start, so this is where I made the mistake, is you always want to start with the most expanded version of the table. And now we're going to see if I'm right. It's 6 a.m. right now, so as I'm making this video, I'm still waking up. But we're going to try this. Registrations, merge with existing records. You always want to merge with existing records. We want to merge on registration ID. Even though we don't have any yet, you always want to do that. Now for contact, remember what we want for contact is we want the contact email. For event, what we want for events is we want the event name, right? And for attended, we want attended. Registration date, we want registration date. Check all the other columns, make sure they're mapped properly. Few records will be created. So as you saw earlier in the video that there were some data errors, that's okay. If those data errors were present in the original file, then the data errors will be present in the migrated file. There's nothing you can really do about that. Now, for some reason, it didn't link our contacts, but it should have. So I'm going to try that again. I think I might know why. This is a email field. I'm going to change that to single line text, see if that does anything. So you kind of have to play around with the data when you're first doing the import, but it is important to get it right. It's so weird. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to create a temp column, right? And I'm going to put the email in the temp column. There we go. So now we have the email. We will then drag it over, and now it creates those records, right? So now we have all of our contacts. So you may remember before that first import we did, we had like 50 of them because we were doing registrations, not contacts. But now we have actually our contacts, and I can change this to email, and we're looking solid. So now we have all of our registrations, right? We have our contact, we have our event. I'm going to remove this temp column wherever it went. Or did I already remove it? I already removed it. We have our events. We don't have our companies. That's okay. So now that we've done our registrations, we have to do another import for each table. So we're going to do this again, except now we're going to do this with contacts. We're going to merge with existing records on email. We already have all of the fields mapped: job title, NPS score, first name, last name, email. And let's check companies. Companies is company name, which is good. That's what we want. Perfect. So now we have that. So now we're going to do it again for companies just to get this extra data in there. So we're going to do companies, contacts. Remember, we're going to choose email. Hopefully it will work now. I have to choose which field I want to merge on. Very important. This company name in this instance. Now it says 9 records will be created. I don't know why. But we may have to do a manual cleanup, and that's okay. So again, for some reason, it's not wanting to link the contacts. So we're going to go with, first off, we can delete these duplicates for now. And I'm going to do another temp column. See, now that won't work though, because it needs to link that. So I had made a mistake whenever I imported the contacts because I overwrote the registrations, and see, now we're missing a bunch of contacts. So we have to re-import registrations. And keep in mind, it's always a bit of a process getting this data imported. So we're going to save this. I'm going to do on every, yeah, I need to do another temp email. There we go. go. Let me make extra careful that I don't overwrite this time. So this is good that you're able to see the mistakes I made. Is obviously multiple contacts have multiple registrations, right? And so now what we need is to do this. So I'm going to create a temp. For the linking records, you may have to create a temp thing. So temp companies is what I'm going to do. I have temp companies. And where I made the mistake is I overwrote registrations, which we didn't want to do. There we go. And really, company name should go through. I don't know why it's not. But again, sometimes things don't work as you expect, so you have to kind of improvise a little bit. Look, now it did. And I think it's probably because of what I did last time with registrations that it didn't. So now we're looking good there. I can delete temp companies. Now we can go to companies. We have all of our companies. Community core looks like a duplicate. And so again, I'll show you after the fact is where you kind of do your cleanup. But you want to get 95% there doing a bulk import. Then you want to go back and fix any edge cases. We already have company size. We already have company industry. I'm going to get rid of that. Now, last but not least, and let's be careful not to mess this one up, is we have events. And so now we're going to do events. We're going to do our mock data. And we're going to do events. And we're going to do merge records on event name. Remember, we do not want to do registrations because those are already linked. But we do want to do city. We do want to do event date. We do want to do event type. 8 records will be updated. And there you go. Everything has been completed and is good to go. And so now we can do some really neat stuff. Like if I want to see how many contacts a company has or how many registrations a company has, I can go to contacts. I can roll up from registrations, right? Registration count. So each person, how many times they've registered. Then I can go to companies and I can go roll up from contacts. Right? And I can see, okay, Blue Horizon event has had the most registrations. These have had the least, and that sort of thing. Now, one thing I was concerned about is community core. So let's see where community core came in. Community core is for Dylan Wright. So let's look at contacts and do Dylan. So you may have to do some manual recon of just some edge cases. Community core was also for Dylan Wright. And then who else? Beacon Experiential. Beacon Experiential was also for Dylan Wright, Priya, Sarah, Noah. Was it for Dylan too? Yeah, Dylan too. Sarah, Jordan. So Jordan would be the last one. But all of the registrations should be there. All of the registrations could be there. And there's a different way we could structure this. This isn't necessarily the most effective or the most accurate way to structure it. Um, but there's a trade-off. There's always trade-offs between, do you want extremely accurate or an extremely complex, or simple and 95% accurate, but maybe not 100% accurate? Because we aren't really tracking what they attended, which company they attended that event for and whatnot. And so, but more or less, that's how you complete a data migration from Google Sheets to Airtable. We did it in under an hour, which isn't too bad. But I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. And if you ever need any help or assistance with automation development work or data migrations in your business, please reach out to us at univium.com and we will be happy to help. Thank you very much.